The experience started, I was with 4 individuals, all of which were male, ranging in between 60 all the way down to my age, around like 20, maybe 25. We were all scaling this large ice wall, and coming up to a certain point near the top, it was very apparent that our gear was sort of worn out climbing this mountain. And what essentially that meant is at this certain point, it was like a point of no return. Like we couldn't just turn back and these things. Some of us had to cut ourselves loose so that others could continue on. And so because there was like 4 of us, 2 of us had to cut ourselves loose so the other ones wouldn't be like weighed down. So I was one of the ones that was cut loose. I cut myself loose and another individual. But what was very interesting was when I cut myself loose, I actually ended up at the top of the mountain. And the other ones, they continued to climb and they made it as well. But instead of like falling like to my death or something like falling, I was actually right at the top. And I was waiting for them. Well, the big idea of getting to this position or getting to this location was I could tell that we were in Russia. And we were in what looked like a grassy green field, sort of like war torn. There was a lot of these holes from like where the bombs hit when they make these divots or these craters. And to the left-hand side, as I turned around, there was this tall outpost. It was probably like a 2-story outpost. And on the top floor, they had these 2 women and 2 men. 2 men were soldiers. They had their backpacks and their kind of camouflage garment, and the 2 women were in these kind of like formal white shirts and these like pencil skirts, and they were doing like the computer, like the technology, the relay, the communication aspect. And the idea of me going into this outpost and approaching these individuals on the real side was that they were sick and tired of the conflict that's going on between Russia, Ukraine, and just kind of that the war that's going on. They were really tired, sick and tired of it. So I was approaching them on the real side, showing them how to leave their situation. And the men were very willing to go. The women were a little resistant. I remember they were a little scared, more so. They were kind of afraid to leave. They thought there would be some kind of like a punishment, like a court-martial or maybe even just like an execution. So they were hesitant, but eventually, me being there on the scene, I sort of, told them the better opportunities that they could have should they walk away from all of this, as they themselves really wanted to walk away. They just had these kind of like attachments. So I was kind of showing them along the way, and we were going and making our way through these wooded areas. And eventually they did decide to sort of step across this little boundary, or this little kind of like wired fence, it seemed like. And what was very interesting is when we stepped across this fence, they had went and started to do their own thing. But I was in this other area, which I could see was North Korea. And when I was here in this area of North Korea, I was approaching this, I'm not sure if they were a family, but there was like, it almost seemed maybe like a family element, because there was few people of different ages. There was a child, and there was like the lady and the man, and then maybe like a teenager or a young adult. And essentially what they were wanting to do was to leave their country as well. And I was essentially showing them on the real side, guiding them to these little areas in the woods, in the forest, to where they would be able to slip through, not with, or it wouldn't be like easy, no resistance. I was showing them like the military is going to come, and this is what's going to look like. This is the man who's going to approach you, and different things like, all these little things that I was preparing them for. But they were themselves too were ready to kind of leave. And so I thought that was kind of cool, like being there, showing them, giving them that little opportunity, because again, they themselves had decided. So I was just on the scene, sort of showing them what's what and how to kind of go about it. So that was my little experience to share. Thank you.
Hey, Jeremy. Yeah, that's very good, because it really shows a lot, and that is the beginning of the experience when you kids are climbing the icy wall. And that's what this is. Not only is it a slippery situation, but it's a risk taker situation that most people won't do. They'll look at it and go, that's not possible to climb that. There's no such thing, or there's no way to do it, etc. But that's where you were, and you did it exactly so. And see, again, most people won't do that. And so you see how the situation lends itself into the next steps and that is what's taking place in the world and certain individuals that you meet that are possibly ready to take the risk, etc. So, you know, again, most people will not go that far, take that risk, you know, supposedly climb that wall. It's not really climbing a wall, but really taking the risk to do something, you know, a whole lot more than they're used to. It's easier for them to stick to their labels and ideas and whatever. But yeah, this is what we're doing here. We're doing something that others aren't doing, that wouldn't be considered or even suggested, so-called in the spiritual sense or whatever people think, etc. But no, it's dealing with all life. As we help each other, we all become more aware. This is the whole idea. We all help each other become more aware, no matter what's going on. And a lot of us have attachments and things like that. It's okay. We'll get through it as we keep helping each other. So it's very specified in your experience. Yes, very good. Thank you.